Hey everyone, Brooke here, and today I am here to talk with you a little bit about some cues that you can use to invite yourself into a space of mindfulness. So we've had a couple practices so far. We've had feet on the ground, and we've had using sound as an anchor. And those are very nourishing practices as long as we can actually set ourselves up to step into that space. And so the two cues I'm going to talk with you about, one of them is for use throughout the day, in the moment, amidst chaos and whatever else you might encounter. The second one is for when you've actually found a pause and are ready to settle into it. So the first one you've heard Jago and I already talk about, and it is, it's like this now. All right, it's like this now. This is such a great reminder for a couple of reasons. First of all, it reminds us that what we're experiencing is our reality, and it is the only space in which we have any power. It's the space that we need to act from. So it encourages some acceptance of that reality. And secondly, it reminds us that everything we experience, whether moments of challenge or moments of joy, it is all fleeting. It is all temporary. And with that in mind, in moments of challenge, it can help us persevere. And in moments of joy, it can help us really relish the experience while we're there. So that's our first one. It's like this now. The second one, for use when you're actually seated and taking a pause, is a series of steps. And it's what we do with our thoughts. We first of all see them, putting our place into the role of the observer. Secondly, we label them, giving a quick explanation as to why this thought is in our heads. And thirdly, we release that thought. And we do that in a gentle way, not pushing it from the mind, not being irritated with it, but rather just on an exhale, embodying the ease that comes with an exhale and imagining that thought just floating away, even if it loops right back around and comes back into our minds only moments later. Okay? So, see it, label it, release it. And the label component, in a moment we're going to practice with this, the label component is a simple label. It's not allowing yourself to get carried away by the thought, but rather seeing it from a distance, quickly assigning an understanding to it, why it's in your mind, and then again releasing it. So for example, if I'm sitting here and all of a sudden tomorrow's lesson plan pops into my mind, I need to ask myself why. And I just give a quick meaning. I care about doing that topic justice and teaching my students to the best of my ability. Exhale, release. If a stack of grading I have to tend to tonight pops into my mind, I ask myself why. Well, on one hand, I want to give meaningful feedback to my students. On the other hand, I really want to spend time with my family during the evenings. So maybe there's a little bit of tension there. Okay, I've seen it, I've labeled it, and now on an exhale, I'm going to release it. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually set up for a pause. You can have your hands resting on your knees or thighs, and let's start by drawing the shoulders back and down and then letting them just soften onto the back. The gaze can be directed downward, or maybe you even close the eyes. And notice for yourself, does it feel better to be leaned back, maybe against the back of a chair or a wall, maybe to lean forward slightly? Wherever you are, we're going to take a deep inhale together, filling up through the lungs, filling up even through the throat, and sip in just a little more air at the top. Exhale through the mouth, let it go. Let's do one more of those collectively. Inhaling, filling the lungs, filling the throat. Sip in a little more, and a little more. Exhale through the mouth, let it go. Let the breath come and go naturally. And check that the jaw is slackened, the eyelids are softened. Set yourself up as an observer of your thoughts. You might picture your thoughts as a ticker tape in front of you. There may be moments where that ticker tape is blissfully blank. And there may be moments where things are running by on it 1,000,000 miles a minute. As soon as you see a thought in your mind, take a step back from it, actually observing it, seeing it. Assign a simple label to it. And on your exhale, gently release that thought, if only for a moment. Check in with yourself. Notice if you have been carried away by a thought, allowed yourself to jump into it. If so, gently take a step back, see the thought from a distance, label it, and exhale to release it. This last moment here to again check in. Notice any thought in the mind. Assign it a simple label. And on an exhale, let it go. We transition out of this moment of stillness, we'll do so with a deep inhale, filling the lungs, filling the throat, exhaling through the mouth. The eyes are closed, we might crack them open, keeping them downcast for a moment, easing the amount of light back in. And just observe how it feels in the moment after this pause. How does it feel to be in this body right now? How does the pace of the mind seem to be? If you, during that moment of pause, had many thoughts in your brain and the pace was rapid, then you are normal. And that is okay. It takes a lot of practice to step into that role of observer and to slow the mind. So that's your homework for this week. You are going to find at least 1 minute, a single minute, every single day. Maybe make it at the same time to help make the routine easier. I like to do a minute at the start of my lunch break or at the start of my prep period. And during that minute, find a seat. You can set a timer and just allow yourself to settle into stillness, into silence, and observe your thoughts. Observe any feelings that arise, and do not judge yourself. Be very gentle with yourself. We work with this in this space of control, right? Sitting in stillness and in silence to allow our brain to become more comfortable with observing the thoughts. And it creates a little bit of space between us and our thoughts. And in that space comes the power of choice. And I'll talk about this more in a future video, but as soon as we're able to step back, we see the opportunities that are available as opposed to acting on autopilot. And so use this next week to really allow yourself that moment of practice every single day and that moment of observance of those thoughts, maybe making that role of observer a little more natural and a little bit easier. Well, as always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I hope you find this practice nourishing.